How you doing? So who are my top picks for Saga Sector Incursion? You notice I didn't say best champion for Saga Sector because when it comes to MCOC, especially in Incursion, it's very subjective who the best champions are. So this is just gonna be my pick for my top picks for the best champion in Incursion. So we have Angela. So if you want Angela to be really powerful and encouraging, you want to bring at least 4-star Odin with you as is her synergy. Because why is that? Because every fight Angela wins with Odin synergy, she gets stronger. So the end. That's it. Thank you. Okay, so what if you don't want to use Angela? Number one, or you don't have a high rank Angela. So if you don't want to use Angela, I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. So what if you don't have a high rank Angela? So if you follow my channel or you seen my videos when it comes to Angela, I've beaten the hardest bosses in Incursion using a 5-star Angela, the champion that you see now. If you want further proof, let me just show you some video clips. So this is a white Magneto boss with over 4 million health and 300,000 attack. And keep in mind this one has personal space regeneration. And also keep in mind Angela is metal. Let's see how well Angela does. 5-star Angela by the way against over 4 million health white Magneto boss with 300,000 attack. See how well Angela does. Oh wow! If you blink, you missed it. So there you go. 9 seconds. Okay, 9 seconds. So I'm actually thought about like coming up with like 20 different nodes for Angela that she can solo and incursion. Like just to name a few, like Power Snack, Preservern, Cowdrass, Biohazard. You're wondering for her if you have her, you want to have Angela Awaken, preferably with Maxi. Those nodes doesn't really matter from her because of her signature ability. And what else? Like as you can see here, personal space regeneration, power play, special fate seal, zero to hero, feature indestructible. All those nodes wouldn't matter in this fight because you can see the fight. It took 9 seconds, which is crazy. Let me just show you my highest damage in Incursion with 5-star Angela, 345 million. Okay, I just want to give you fair warning. If you're only going to zone 15 in Incursion, you're very likely not going to see this damage with Angela. I just let you know. As you can see here, by the PI of White Magneto, he has over a million PI. So you could see that was way beyond zone 25. So maybe a 7-star rank 3 can do this damage with a 6-star rank 3 Torah. Like I don't know if you're only going to zone 15, but most likely you're not going to see this damage. So unfortunately, when it comes to incursions, they've Kabam somehow found a way to nerf the top 3 broken champions. Perhaps I'll talk more about it in a different video, but they nerf, uh, like I said, the top 3 broken champions in MTOC. That's Angela, Hela, and Aegon by nerfing Incursion. So not only they nerf Incursion, they also nerf the rewards. Before you can get rewards up to zone 25. Now it's only till zone 15. So they're going backwards. I have no idea why. They started with zone 20, then they moved to zone 25. Now they're going backwards to zone 15. It doesn't make sense. Like, why does it really matter for Angela? Because every fight she wins, she gets stronger. So if you're only going to zone 15, you're only seeing a tiny fraction of Angela's power. I've actually taken Angela over zone 100. And as well as Hela, she gets really strong the more fight you win. I think I made a video about top 3 broken champions, and I talked about top 2 broken champions is Angela and Hela, and they'll never make content outside of Incursion for them because how broken they are, and for some reason then they found a way to nerf Angela and Hela. If you've seen some of my videos, my most viral video is with Hela, against Spider-Man 2099, in Incursion. And if you want to see what a broken champion looks like, check out that video. So really, I just want to talk about, you know, it is unfortunate, you know, I still think Angela is the best option for Saga Sector. I want to emphasize this is Saga Sector, not in general Incursion. I do think if you're only going to Zone 15 from now moving forward, I do think Hercules is the best option for Incursion to Zone 15. And it's funny, somebody mentioned that Hercules, these people are saying that Hercules is broken. Now, the same people are saying that Hulkling and Cosmic Ghost Rider is better than Hercules? Like what? What? That doesn't make any sense. And that's why I say when people make these, watch these videos of people having titles of best, champions or something like that, it's really very subjective who are the best champions in MCOC. So always take it with a grain of salt. So let's move forward. Who are the best champions for Incursion? Like I mentioned, Angela. And who are, besides Angela, who you want to use? With Angela, I think Bullseye is going to be a really good option for Incursion. Also, I think, as you can see that by the Hulk's PI, and you're going to see it right now. As you can see, over 359,000 PI. Okay. You're likely not going to see this. And you're not going to see this PI if you're only going to Zone 15. So keep that in mind. So, and this is a 4-star Bullseye, not Ascended, by the way. So let's see how well Bullseye will do. Okay, so what hacks was I using here with Bullseye? I was using Hemostatic Charge, Tide of Combat, Special Counter, and Buff Cornucopia. If Buff Cornucopia isn't really necessary with Bullseye, unless you're running Damage Mastery, you really want to have Buff Cornucopia because he's not Damage Mastery friendly. So as you can see here, Buff Cornucopia is keeping me in the game. If I didn't have Buff Cornucopia in this fight, I would have been KO for sure. Look at this one right here. Let's pause it. Oh, you missed. Okay, we missed it. Unfortunately, maybe you've seen it. You can see how much damage. Just that first hit alone using a 4-star Bullseye. Not Ascended, by the way. So let's see the damage. Come on, Bullseye. Let's go. Let's go. 614,000. Okay, from a 4-star, not Ascended. And that was the first hit. And I think the Powers thing did over 200,000. Okay, so even 4-star Bullseye, if you're only going to Zone 15, could be good enough if you use with Angela and Odin. Okay, so Angela can work with many hacks in the game. In here, really only 2 hacks benefit Angela, which is Buff Cornucopia and what is this? Tide of Combat. And the others benefit Bullseye, which is pretty much really good for Bullseye. The hacks I had here with Bullseye. So let me say it again. With Bullseye, Buff Cornucopia, Tide of Combat, Hemostatic Charge, and Special Counter. You can even take out Special Counter and replace it with, what do you call this? Keep it going. I think that's way better for Angela for sure, because Special Counter doesn't really help Angela in pretty much every fight, so except against Old Man Logan, where you can inflict bleed on him. And I do think if Angela can do over 1 billion damage, it's against Old Man Logan with Hemostatic Charge. But that's really about it, so Angela's only pretty much benefiting only with 2 hacks here. I think keep it going will be better for Angela instead of Special Counter. But if I would say for Bullseye, if you're not running Damage Mastery, I would say this is the best hack. I would go with Hemostatic Charge is pretty much a must. And I think that's going to be good enough for most fights if you're only going to Zone 15, and especially if you're using a 7-star rank 3. You don't really need Tide of Combat, but it's a nice thing to have. Tide of Combat, Strategic Movement, and keep it going. Those 3 of those hacks, besides Hemostatic, is going to work really well for Angela as well. So, let's go. So who else is going to be good for Angela besides using Bullseye in your team? So let's go. And another thing too is Like I mentioned, this is just a tiny fraction of Angela's power. So if you're only going to zone 15, I'm talking about. So what else do I want to say? Another thing too, if you want to go with like a full Angela team or something like that, you only really need Odin synergy. Heimdall would be nice, but you can't use Heimdall. So Angela can pretty much solo every fight in Incursion if you got the right hacks. You know, the only two fights you're gonna have a hard time with the hacks that I'm gonna tell you, and I'm only gonna tell you once. Keep that in mind. With Angela, so keep that in mind. Is Buff Cornucopia, it's pretty much a must. So you get to choose the first hack, and I would go with Buff Cornucopia with Angela, and then Tide of Combat, Defense Cascade, and keep it going. So if you there's only two fights I would say, two different fights that you're gonna have a hard time with those hacks. It's going to be One Eye Open and Rintra. Depending on how high your rank your Angela is, or what zone you are, that could be next to impossible fight. You would need like MSD skills to be able to solo that fight. But like, if you're a more skilled player, you might benefit more from strategic movement than defense cascade. Especially, when it comes to one eye open, it's not gonna be really a big deal. It's gonna be pretty easy. And then Rintra, if you have defense cascade and draining degen, that's also gonna be an easy fight against Angela using those hacks. So I'm gonna say it one more time, and I'm gonna say it pretty much. I'm gonna refer to Angela's because pretty much any champion that has armor up buffs, these are the best hacks. This is a good team to use with Angela because they're very compatible. It's gonna be Cornucopia, Tide of Combat, Defense Cascade, and keep it going. So let's see other teammates for Angela. Okay. So another good teammate for Angela is Guillotine 2099. She works really well with Angela's hacks, because she has armor up buffs. I haven't done really a full video when it comes to Guillotine 29 and it comes to Incursion, but if you want to see over 100 billion damage with Guillotine 29 in Incursion, it's going to be with Guillotine 2099. Keep in mind, you gotta be at 5%, the opponent's at 5% health, and you have to use a special 3 to be able to do over 100 billion damage with Guillotine 2099. So that's gonna be really well with Angela 2 when it comes to Guillotine 2099. Guardian 2 because he has armor up buffs. So the hacks that I gave you with Angela, that's gonna be really good. Also with Guardian, as a synergy purposes, he can increase your block proficiency as well. So the higher rank you have, the higher block proficiency, and 6-star and 7-star is the same block proficiency. What else? What do you call this? Omega Sentinel will also work really well with Angela's buffs, which I call the ultimate hacks or ultimate buffs. You're pretty much gonna have, since she has armor up buffs, you can like opponent's gonna be stunned. You can just do medium. She also inflicts that non-damaging debuffs, which when they expire, they chance to gain fury buffs. So that's gonna be really good to have if you were gonna use Angela's hacks with Omega Sentinel as well. The thing about Omega Sentinel as well is that she is immune to Nullify. So is Angela, by the way. But not only that, she's immune to Fate Seal and Stagger, and her ability actually cannot be reduced against mutants. So that's gonna be really good choice to use with Angela. Who else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. You can also use infamous Iron Man with Angela's hacks, but because she has armor buffs. But what is this? I would say when it comes to infamous Iron Man, I would go with these hacks instead. I would go with Buff Cornucopia, Defense Cascade, Tide of Combat, and Draining Degen. Those 4 are really good hacks for Iron Man Infamous. You're gonna just melt opponent for sure with those hacks. So Draining Degen, I think, is the most important hack to have. And then combined with Tide of Combat for Infamous Iron Man, it's gonna melt opponent. So What if you don't want to, like I mentioned earlier, what if you don't want to have an Angela in your team? So who can you go with? So there is this team I would choose if I wasn't going to use Angela in Incursion. I'm going to be picking No. And thing about No, when it comes to her synergy with Symbiote Supreme, as you can see here, you grant an indestructible buff. Basically, you become indestructible for 10 seconds and you gain 50% attack. Keep in mind, you do lose 5% health, but if you're running Liquid Courage, you're pretty much 100% poison resistance. You're going to gain pretty much close to 10% health back. And you're still going to be gaining health in general. So keep that in mind. With No, very powerful synergy with Symbiote Supreme, so that means Venom. Venom, I think is going to be really OP for Saga Sector with Hemostatic Charge and Tide of Combat, especially if you have the Venom Relic. You know, with Venom Relic, Venom's just gonna melt opponents, especially if you have a high rank Venom, with Tide of Combat. So I'm gonna tell you best hacks for Venom: Hemostatic Charge, Tide of Combat, Compounding Harm, and Buff Cornucopia. Buff Cornucopia works really well with Venom and No in your team. You're gonna be pretty much unstoppable. And then also you can bring Scorpion as well. Scorpion really works well with those hacks that I mentioned. I'm gonna say it again. Um, Buff Cornucopia, Hemostatic Charge, Tide of Combat, and Compounding Harm. So any champion that's bleed immune, you just bring a Scorpion with Compounding Harm. You inflict armor break on the opponent, and when they expire, there's a chance you can gain a Fury buff with Tide of Combat. Will make him even hit harder. And if you don't know this already, I don't know. It's pretty common already that he has a very powerful synergy with Venom when he inflicts damaging over time debuff on opponent where it gains 10% attack bonus. So yeah, so that's the team I would use if I wasn't going with an Angela team. You can also bring Aegon with Angela, but like I said earlier, if I hadn't said it already, they pretty much nerf Aegon because if not unless you're using a 5-star Aegon that's not ascended, the chances of you getting to 999 with Aegon is pretty small. You know, so they did pretty much find a way to nerf Aegon. It's unfortunate, but I think he does have a synergy with Angela. To increase her fury potency, I believe what it is. Increase Angela's fury potency, so that's pretty good for Angela. So I think he's still gonna be okay, but not as good if he was at 999. But keep in mind, I do think Aegon is gonna be okay, even though it's only till zone 15. So you're probably gonna have like 300 to 500 hits on the combo meter, which is gonna be decent. Not like his maximum potential, but it's still gonna be okay, I think. So who else would I go? I'm gonna just tell you individually from now. You want to take notes. That's cool because I'm gonna go pretty fast. So Silver Surfer with Buff Cornucopia is gonna be really good. Cosmic Ghost Rider pretty much is great for Incursion, I think, but you have to know how to use him. And he doesn't work every fight. Keep that in mind. So you gotta know how to use him because I tried using auto fight with Cosmic Ghost Rider. His damage is just not that good, so you have to know how to use him. Mr. Fantastic with non-damaging applies non-damaging debuff, so Tide of Combat would be really good. Also Buff Cornucopia as well because he's not damage mastery friendly. He doesn't really have any way to regen. I already mentioned Guillotine 29. Just use the same hack with Angela. She's gonna do really well. Same thing with Guardian. Any champion that inflicts bleed is going to be pretty good, I believe. Ultron with Hemostatic Charge, I think he's going to be underrated. I think for Incursion, I think he's going to be really good with Tide of Combat as well. Who else? Hyperion is an OG champion for Incursion. I think he's gonna be good in Incursion, of course. He's always been good for Incursion with Buff Cornucopia. What else? And that hack that increase your Fury buff duration and ability accuracy, meaning gaining better chance of gaining Fury, it's gonna be really powerful for Hyperion. What else that can make him hit like a truck? There's what do you call this? Buff Cornucopia. Keep it going. What else? Draining degen because you're knocking down opponent all the time with a heavy attack, and as well as Tide of Combat. He's gonna hit like a truck for sure. You can also go with I don't know if I said it already. Keep it going or professional offense will work well. Wolverine, I'm not so sure. But he does inflict bleed, so hemostatic charge title combat might not be so bad. But he's really good with the Apocalypse synergy as a horseman. Who else? I think Captain Marvel can be really good for Incursion. I just don't know what hacks I would recommend for her, but I think she could be really good for Incursion. Who else? Killmonger can be good for Incursion, maybe even Squirrel because they can inflict bleed. Hemostatic and title combat can be really strong for them. Um, Spider Ham, not really sure, but with tighter combat because he inflicts non-damaging debuff, that can make him hit pretty hard. So is Quicksilver, inflicts non-damaging debuff, so he can and also keep it going since he has like a 13 or 14 hit combo. That's gonna trigger keep it going all the time with title combat. I think he's gonna hit pretty hard as well, but he doesn't not damage master friendly. He doesn't have any regen, so including Bob Cornucopia would be really good with Quicksilver. Adam Warlock is gonna be good for Incursion as well. So Adam Warlock, I would say Bob Cornucopia is a must. Then Compounding Harm, I would say uh, Toxic Advancement, and what is this? Title Combat. Those are, I would say, four best hacks for Adam Warlock. Let me just say it again: Bob Cornucopia, Compounding Harm, Toxic Advancement, and Title Combat. Who else? Atuma, I think, could be okay. I think he inflicts bleed on opponent. I'm not sure. Super Iron Man, I think he's gonna be great once his buff is live. Unfortunately, it's not this month. It's gonna be in August. So don't count on using Super Iron Man this incursion. I think Arcade could be really good with Hemostatic and Compounding Harm, as well as Title Combat. It doesn't have any way to regen, so I would recommend Buff Cornucopia as well. But I think he can have a potential to hit really hard with those hacks. Black Cat inflicts bleed, so I say Hemostatic and Title Combat. Same thing with Shillette. I think Hemostatic and Title Combat. Gladiator, I think he's going to be good for Incursion as well. Best hack for Gladiator, I say number one is Bob Cornucopia as a must. Draining Degen because he's going to knock down opponent all the time. And then Title Combat is really good. I say keep it going. So those hacks I would use for Gladiator. One more time. Bob Cornucopia, Draining Degen, Title Combat, and keep it going. He's gonna hit like a truck with those hacks. Gore, I think, has really like high potential, high damage, at least 10 million for sure, with the right hacks. I feel like when it comes to Incursion, because just the way his abilities work, and with Hemostatic, I think he's gonna hit really hard with Title Combat, Special Counter, and keep it going. He's gonna hit like a truck. I don't think Buff Cornucopia is necessary with him because he has a way to regen. So those four hacks, I say, let me say again: Hemostatic, Title Combat, Special Counter, and Compounding Harm. Or you can get rid of Special Counter. So I say Compounding Harm and keep it going as well. So that's it. I already mentioned Scorpion with Venom. Let me say it again: Buff Cornucopia, Compounding Harm, Title Combat, and what else? Keep it going. Those hacks. Oh yeah, Hemostatic Charge. My bad. So Buff Cornucopia, Hemostatic Charge. Hemostatic Charge doesn't really help him, but you're gonna have Venom on the team, and that's really helpful for Venom. So Buff Cornucopia, Hemostatic Charge, Title Combat, and Compounding Harm. And that's pretty much it. Those are, I think, the best options for Saga Sector Incursion. Thank you.